Awesome. Awesome. Yay. We're on live. Hi, everyone. Molly Oyua with Sacred Fire Creative. And today my special guest is Tona Brewer of the Brewer Group. Tona, hi. How are you doing today?
I'm great, Molly. How are you?
Great, great. Thanks so much for being here. I'm super excited to just help share the story of what you do and who you are. So let's talk about it a little bit. Can we kind of like go back in time and talk about how did you, what's your path? How did you get to where you are today?
Oh, right. So I have worked in talent strategy for most of my career. And I've worked in a lot of corporations leading learning and development initiatives, OD initiatives, recruiting strategy, and really building to the point where it's all about getting the right people in the right place at the right time. And really thinking through that overall strategy. Now, earlier this year, before COVID, I had an opportunity to take a really nice separation package from my previous employer, which opened a door for me to start my own consulting business, something I've always wanted to do. I wanted to get out of the corporate day-to-day grind and work really closely with business owners, helping them to achieve their goals.
Awesome. Awesome. So I feel like this is happening more and more, right? So people who are maybe, they're facing that severance package or a great offer, and they can potentially either retire early or, launch their own business.
Right.
So that's where you are, which is what brings us.
Right. I had for a while thought my husband and I were talking about retiring early. And I think the month of April gave me a good taste of, it was different. We're in quarantine, but it was nice for a couple days. After a month, I just couldn't not work. So I don't think retiring early sounds as exciting anymore.
Right. Yeah, no, I can respect that completely. And I see there's a few people on live. So if you're watching, thank you so much. If you have some questions for Tona, go ahead and put them into the comments because I can bring them up on the screen if you like. And you can always reach out to us too. So Tona, that's great. Okay, so you launch this. I mean, it was like in the middle of a pandemic. So how has your journey been? It's kind of a new journey, and now we're in the middle of this pandemic. What has it been like for you?
It's been exciting. Really, I've spent a lot of time just networking. And from the beginning, I had a goal to meet with at least two via Zoom, at least two people every day. And it's just fascinating to hear what other people are doing, to learn, to make those connections, and to see all the different ways that different businesses are meeting the current challenges. And I do think that there is a space, a lot of people the type of work I do can feel very big. And so this gives a chance to kind of do projects a little bit at a time by outsourcing it and seeing how far it goes while remaining agile as the winds might shift.
Okay. Well, can you talk about that a little more? So what do you mean? So are you outsourcing your work, or you're working with other companies as they're outsourcing?
If a company needs to outsource, so some of the things that I can do, or that I can do for companies, let's take, for example, running an employee survey. That's something I have a lot of experience with. And people may not have that experience on staff or want to hire somebody full-time to do that. But they're wanting to come in, especially now, and do these what we call pulse surveys, just quick little surveys to see how is their workforce adapting to the changes that are going on, what type of support do they need. Another thing that I have really helped some clients with is strategic hiring. Right before the pandemic hit, there was a labor shortage, especially for skilled professions, and it was very hard to find good people. Now I've had some clients who've put out a job description or a posting on Indeed or LinkedIn and gotten 400 resumes in response. So really helping them to be strategic about how do you get the description where people will self-select out so that you are getting, if you give 400, they're all a good 400, right? But you're getting people who really would be a good match. And then how can you be strategic about hiring that person so you're still getting the right person in for the job? So those are a couple of examples. I also have a lot of experience in leadership development, and that's an area as well, looking at, and my experience goes beyond just having a leadership training class. I want to look at your whole team, and kind of from the beginning, where are people at? Do you have the bench strength? And how do you grow people into leaders beyond just sending them to a class? Because nobody becomes a leader going to a class. So you want to help provide them with a set of training, experiences, opportunities, and a chance to reflect as they grow into leadership roles.
That's great. So in what you're doing, are you working with like larger companies, or what size are we looking at here?
My particular niche is going to be between about 200 to 3,000 employees. Although I have really enjoyed working with, my background's in companies that size, but I've been so blessed to meet a lot of very small business owners and learning about their journey, and just seeing that there is a lot of what I bring to the table that I can still help them with. Mm-hmm. And having some really good success in that area. I think especially now, there's such a risk of losing our small businesses, and it's so important to having a vital economy.
Yeah. What are some of the biggest challenges you're seeing people facing?
I think right now it's a sense of uncertainty. I feel like people, especially business owners, especially women business owners, people are resilient. If we know what's going to happen, then people can plan. Even if the worst happened, people could stand up to it. But right now it's this, we don't know when the pandemic's going to end. We don't know what's going to happen with the economy. It's hard to plan. So I think people are needing to kind of have a plan, and a plan B, and a plan C, and just stay agile and willing to switch direction if they need to.
Yeah. So what advice do you have for people who are working on their end of year plans going into next year?
Well, of course, in my role, I would say this, but actually I've heard this from a lot of business leaders too. People first. Honestly, if you don't have the right people, nothing else is going to happen. A strong team can carry you through a lot. If you're juggling and trying to deal with challenges with your people, you'll never execute on your goals. So really taking a look at the people on your team and helping them to be agile too, and helping to support them through all the change that is going on, and staying optimistic, because this too shall pass. We don't know when, but it will.
Yes, absolutely. So what does it look like when people are working with you? Do you, we're actually in this virtual environment, so it probably looks very different than it would normally look. But so what does it look like right now during this environment?
Well, it's really, we're so fortunate we do have these tools, and that people have gotten up to speed so quickly on these virtual tools. So there's a lot of just really understanding the business situation, and I need to understand their business, their goals, their strategy. So there's going to be at least an hour intake conversation, perhaps more, to understand where they're at. And then from there, we can scope out. I like to give lots of options so people can really make some choices and see what might work best for them.
Yeah. And then, so from there, okay, so you've got your intake. We've got your intake. It takes more than an hour. And then is there like a set amount of time you're working with them? Is it weekly? Is it monthly? Are you working with the CEO or other middle management? How does that work?
Right now I have really a variety because there's so much going on. So I typically could come in on a project basis. So let's say you want to hire for a key role. So that's a project. I'll scope that out, and we'll determine maybe that takes 6 weeks to get that person hired and in place. Or maybe you want to conduct an employee survey. Again, that's probably 6 weeks. And during that time, we check in pretty closely on a regular basis. I'm also available on a retainer basis, where If you don't have strategic HR, you can have me on retainer and can check in with you on a regular basis and jump in as needed if things pop up. But if a lot of clients just need somebody to bounce ideas off of and kind of talk things through, and I'm available to do that as well.
That's great. I know for myself, even having a very small team, everything that you've said really resonates with me, and making sure that I have the best staff possible. Like, my team is just amazing. I can't sing enough praises for them. I feel so blessed every single day. So what you're saying makes sense to me. You really have to look at the people, and also that's the place to start. So
Right.
Yeah. So looking at, 2020, end of 2020 into 2021, what are you looking to have more of in your business?
So I want to have kind of a couple of, ideally, I'd like to have a very small group of core clients that I work with closely, that I really get to know in a long-term relationship. So that I can understand where they're going, what their goals are, and be proactive in helping them. In addition to that, I've been launching some, I call them open enrollment classes. And this is the type of leadership development. Now, let me back up. Ideally, what I've seen works best is a company has really a custom leadership development program that's really tied into their strategy, their business, their needs. That being said, sometimes smaller businesses may have, an owner and maybe one manager. So we're talking about one person who's trying to improve their leadership skills. So I'd like to continue with this open enrollment and get it really targeted. So I might have an open enrollment manager development specifically for managers in small businesses, because they've got unique needs. And where they can have a cohort of peers they can get to learn from, and their own network they're building, as well as a chance to develop their leadership skills in a safe space. So those are two main revenue streams I'm looking at, and always have fun jumping in on ad hoc projects too.
That's great. That's great. Thank you so much for sharing. I know that the other thing I'd love to just kind of mention is that you're a new member of NAWBO Oregon, so congratulations for that. And so I do want to highlight you as a member, and so I'll be adding this to our Facebook page for NAWBO Oregon, but also we're doing some workshops. Do you want to talk a little bit about what those are and what you're going to be telling people?
Oh, I'm super excited. So the first workshop we're doing is Beyond the Form, and it's the ongoing performance appraisal. So the performance appraisal process is something that almost every company does. It's extremely time consuming. It can be expensive. And I have yet to meet anybody who said, wow, our overall productivity just really increased after performance appraisal. It doesn't.
Oh, people hate them. It's so rough.
Managers hate them, employees hate them. They're just not fun. And yet there was a trend, early 2013, 2014, a lot of larger companies started doing away with performance appraisal. Adobe is famous for that. But then a lot of companies ended up bringing it back. Mm-hmm. And the reason is performance appraisal really fills some critical roles in a company. It helps to give feedback to employees. It helps to differentiate who the people are who are really doing the most so that they can be rewarded. And it helps to surface problems. So how do we achieve those goals in a way that actually works, instead of being this time-consuming check-the-box exercise that leaves employees feeling beat up and managers just exhausted? So I made, in my most recent employer, Blunt International, a huge journey overhauling and reimagining what the performance appraisal would look like. And some key learnings from there that I really would like to take to other companies, because I think it makes a difference. It really matters. It matters to the business in achieving goals, and it matters to those employees who are waiting anxiously to see what their score is. So we'll be talking about that in a couple of weeks. And in December, we are talking about...
Is it the one-to-one meetings?
One-on-one. Thank you.
One-on-one.
One-on-one meetings. One-on-one meetings, there's a lot of research that shows, well, first of all, for every employee, their immediate manager is the most important person in their work life, right? And having that time and attention is important. A lot of managers are busy and they say, oh, I talk to my people every day. We don't need to sit down and have a one-on-one meeting. But studies have shown again and again that productivity improves, engagement improves, turnover goes down when managers have regular one-on-one meetings. And again, at my last 2 employers where we conducted an annual employee survey, in both of those places, we helped managers by providing them tools, a framework, a way to make those meetings effective so that they're not just sitting and saying, okay, now what do we talk about? We gave them some training and tools to be really effective in those meetings. And what we saw was that the survey scores the next year increased in some really key areas. And the one-on-one meetings were also mentioned frequently in comments. So we know that was making a difference. So I have some of those tools, including I will share with the audience some templates and agendas and ways that they can utilize those.
That's right.
Right. And then in January, we're going to be talking about hiring aligned talent. And I spoke to this earlier. Making that so you're not just posting a job description and getting 400 applicants, which is great if there are 400 applicants that are a good fit, but usually people will find a lot of those aren't a good fit. And sometimes even when you hire somebody, it's not a good fit, and it's not until you've got them in there that you realize that. So we'll be looking at kind of 2 ways, and we call it the employee value proposition. And it helps the employer to get clear on what they need from the employee and then what they're going to offer, your unique offering that will attract the employee that you need. Then with that in hand, you can do a post, a job description. You can be strategic about where you post it, how you try to attract those candidates. It's going to be a lot easier to screen those resumes when they come in. And you've got the interview questions to help you know in advance, this will be a good fit rather than, oh yeah, it seems like a good person. So you're really targeting the person that you're looking for and having them come in fitting nicely. And finally, in February, present like a pro. I've been training. I started my career in training back in the 90s, so it's been a while. I've been leading classes, large and small groups, for 20 years, and in person as well as virtually. And I think I have some tips that would really help people to feel confident, whether it's in front of a large audience or on a Zoom call, so that they know they're presenting their best possible self.
That is so great. All of these are such amazing topics. I kind of wish I had them all like today, you know what I mean? So the anticipation is going to be so much. If you are a NAWBO Oregon member, these are free for you. We also have them available, for the public and also to other NAWBO members across the country. So they're advertised on Eventbrite. So if you take a look at that, you can look it up or let us know if you need a link to that. What else do you want people to know? What do you wish people knew?
Oh gosh, I feel like I've shared so much. Well, I might take a moment to talk a little bit about personal life and hobbies. I love traveling. I love my most recent, my most recent vacation was last year to New Zealand, but actually in January, we went to Banff and to Jasper in January when it was negative 40 degrees. And at negative 40 degrees, it comes equal. So it's negative 40 degrees Fahrenheit, negative 40 degrees Celsius. But it's that kind of adventure I love.
Wow.
I have 3 cats who are my office mates. And I'm also a woman motorcyclist. So
oh my gosh.
I've been I've been writing for 10 years and really love it. And this nice long fall has made it fun to get out and enjoy. So, yeah.
Oh, that's so great. I love it. And by the way, I also love New Zealand and Banff, and I love travel too. Like post COVID, we can come up with a Navajo, Oregon retreat somewhere,
Yes.
So, okay, let's see. So, Allison, thank you so much for your question, which is a great question. Do you work with nonprofits?
Oh, of course. Yes. I work with nonprofits, and I actually I do have on my rate scale, which, I discussed when we got in there, but I always have a discounted rate for nonprofits as well as other NABO members and other members of the Clackamas Chamber of Commerce, which I'm also a member of. Yeah.
Great. Really great question. Yeah. And we hadn't talked about that at all. So how does it work with nonprofits? Is that similar? How does it differ from what you're doing with these companies?
Well, a lot of the things that I'm doing are really the same. You've got a strategy. You've got a strategy in a for-profit business. Your strategy is to make money. In a nonprofit, your strategy is to achieve the mission, but you still need the right people who are engaged, who are driven to that. I think if anything is kind of the way I don't even know that I've seen much of a difference, honestly. You're going to have a different value proposition when you're trying to attract the right candidates to a nonprofit.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you have to be even more careful about getting the right people, because you don't want to waste time and money on the wrong person. Right.
Right. Nobody wants to waste time and money on the wrong person. Thank you for your question, Allison. Awesome. So she says, thank you. That's great. One of the things I would say is that when you're talking about hiring and putting out these, the job descriptions on Indeed, you're really activating my marketing brain, because you're calling it an employee value proposition. Yes. And essentially you're marketing to people and making sure that the words that you're saying really resonate with them, so that, like you said, they self-select.
Yes.
So, so what you're doing is actually really similar in my brain, of course, because it's just the marketing brain going crazy. But I'm thinking that's what we do for the people we serve. We just, a lot of what we're doing in messaging is making sure that the right clients come to you, that the right client, they self-select, right? Like in my business, if you have a business where, and this is just my thing, like I'm a self-professed goody. So if you have a business and you don't care about people, or you're not like driven by like the mission and purpose and creating an impact, then I'm probably not the gal for you. But but if you do care about that,
right,
and like you're a woman or minority business owner, that's like my jam, right? Like that's who I want to serve.
Yes.
And so like you have to just know, like part of it is just knowing exactly who you want and who you don't want. And then really forming those words very clearly so that people identify that they are the right person or they're not.
Right.
I mean, is that kind of...
That actually absolutely is. And actually me just starting out as a small women business owner, I've worked in a corporate environment my entire career. So this year, just starting out, really starting to understand where some clients may not be a good fit for me, and how to negotiate that, right? And go, oh, wait, no, I don't want to do this just because it's making money. I want to do this because of the impact, the relationship, seeing somebody else thrive, all of those reasons.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can say, even though I've been in business for a while, I'm still learning that, Tona. So it's an ongoing process. It's kind of like what you said, when you hire somebody and you don't know. I mean, you thought you made this great hire, and then it's not quite right. And like, I don't know, you might not even be able to put your finger on it, or like what exactly happens, but that, something's not right. So I'm sure that being an objective party or a third party is helpful to companies, because you can just say like, okay, I can clearly see where this kind of fell off the tracks and where we can get back on. Right.
One of the things that I've taught hiring managers, and it's also something I would love to do as an open enrollment class, is just some of the hiring biases. And so people just have natural biases when they hire. A lot of times, hiring managers want to hire their own people. They'll generally do better if they let a skilled HR person choose it for them, because you don't know your own biases, right? So you've got the just like me bias. Boy, this person reminds me of myself. And then you'll find, yeah, they remind you of all your rough parts as well, too, right? A lot of that's actually where a lot of discrimination against BIPOC come in, is not consciously that these hiring managers are like, oh, I don't want a person of color, but they just see more of themselves in the person who looks like them. And so there are actually a lot of research I've done and work I've done in my other companies to bypass that. So there are things you can do, even when you get down to a face-to-face interview, to help people to get beyond that, so that they're not choosing based on a bias.
That's great. And that kind of segues, I'll just take a moment to kind of segue into talking about NAWBO Oregon's Professional Development Forum, which is on November 30th. So, and we are welcome to have guests at this as well. The forum is on interrupting bias in decision-making.
It's a great, yeah.
It's extremely interactive. So, it's meant to be more like a workshop style in the middle of our professional development forum. So typically I've had either a speaker or panelist. This time we're really like interacting and doing an interactive workshop. And so that we can learn, just like you're talking about, like the whole point is, no matter who we are, we have unconscious bias. Yep. So this is going to help identify, what they are, or just that we have them, to acknowledge, hey, we have them, and how do we interrupt that when we're making decisions or important decisions where we know we need to interrupt it. So, I have a specialist coming in who only does this kind of work, which is so exciting. And and I'm very passionate about this work. I have a group that meets every Monday at 3:30 Pacific, which is open and free to the public, but it's really about not just diversity, not just checking off the box, but it's diversity, equity, inclusion, accessibility, belonging, and really tackling a different topic every single week. So I bring in a different speaker. Like today, we brought you into this live, which is awesome. And so for those, we're really bringing in somebody from that space who either does it like full time in their work or is extremely passionate about it. And we learn just another facet of that, which is we're never going to stop learning. There's something more to learn all the time.
Exactly. It's just such a wonderful program that you're running. That is so crucial. It's so crucial right now.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Tona. I love getting to hear from you. I always take away these little nuggets from when I talk to you, just because you're always on point with everything. And really thank you for putting together some workshops for NAWBO Oregon coming up. So again, let me take a peek at the calendar for this. So when is your first one?
November 17th.
November 17th at noon. So it's Beyond the Form.
Yep.
Strategic Performance Review.
Yep.
So, and if I can just go back and reiterate about that, there's been a lot of discussion that performance reviews just need to go away completely. And so if you think they need to go away completely, maybe this would be a good workshop for you. And if you've had any struggles with it, like they haven't been efficient, or they haven't been working that well, and you've thought about getting rid of them, or you're only using OKRs and you don't know what to do next. Like these are like topics that come up all the time in business. And I think that it's just so great to have somebody like you, Tona, who is an expert in this space, who has some real also evidence-backed, data-backed processes and tips for us, techniques.
Yes. So I'll have tools and really excited to discuss this with the group.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Tona. It's so great talking to you. Is there anything we missed that you want people to know before we sign off and say bye?
No, just if they're not already members of NAWBO, they should join. I've been a member for a month, and I've already, I think, gotten value out of my membership dues already. So
I know you have clients from it. So awesome. I love it. I love it. So thank you so much. And again, yeah, if you want to know about NAWBO Oregon, NAWBO.org is where to go, and reach out to us. We'd be happy to have you visit the chapter and learn about what we have to offer. And please visit at Tona's workshop coming up on November 17th. See you. Bye.